Hello, it's 9 p.m. in RTD. It's time to English New Edition for tonight headlines. We have the President Geli at the 29th summit of the Forum, heads of state and government of the APRM. For the international scene, migrants risk their lives to reach the United Kingdom. Welcome to our newsroom. On the sidelines of the 33 Summit of the African Union, the President of the Republic, His Excellency Ismail Omar Guelleh, at the 29th Summit of the APRM Forum of the Head of State and Government opened today in the early afternoon. And the forum was chaired by the President of Chad, Mr. Idriss Déby Itno, who presented his assessment during his chairmanship at the head of the APRM, and then congratulate member states for their continued support, through contributions and their willingness to participate in the APRM process. The official speeches focus on the state of African economy and the strengthening of democracy, economic governance and management, socio-economic development, all within a South-South cooperation framework, and developing an innovative approach designed and implemented by Africans for Africa. The issue on the agenda were firstly the submissions of the report on the legacy of the former chairpersons of the APRM Forum, who was the President of Kenya, Uhuru Kenyatta, the assessment of Seychelles and Zimbabwe, the ends of terms of offices of the President of Chad leaving the chairmanship of these noble institutions of the Presidents of South Africa for terms of 2, and finally the elections of a new Troika. The Republic of Djibouti presents its report, which focuses on financial decentralization of how local authorities are economically and financially autonomous, genuine engines change for Africa, and bringing African closer to a common ideals to African peer review mechanisms, known by its acronym APRM, is a reciprocal monitoring mechanism and aimed at promoting good governance in Africa. It is an instrument established by mutual agreement to which the member states of the African Union adhered to voluntarily. In his address, the President of the Republic, Ismail Omar Guelleh, first of all thanked the Prime Ministers of Ethiopia, Dr. Abiy Ahmed, and the President of the Republic of Chad, Idriss Déby Itno, who chaired the meeting. Listen to the Head of State.
Allow me, first of all, to address the Prime Minister, Dr. Abiy Ahmed, my warmest thanks and gratitude to you, dear brother, to your government, and to the Ethiopian people for the warm and frontal welcome which, as usual, has been extended to me and my delegation since our arrival in your beautiful country. I should like next to extend my sincere congratulations to my brother, the President of the Republic of Chad, Idriss Déby Itno, who has presided over the destiny of our forum over the past 2 years, and whose term of office has just come to an end. Under your leadership, Mr. President, governments in Africa has improved, thus motivating new countries to join the African Peer Review Mechanism, or APRM in short. The APRM has indeed taken new steps as part of the ongoing revitalization and renewal of the APRM initiated by our brother Mr. Uhuru Kenyatta, and which you have successfully led. Our organization has taken new steps. The APRM has now integrated the African Union and has thus expanded its mandate to include monitoring the implementation of the African Union's 2063 Agenda and Sustainable Development Objectives. The production of the report on governments in Africa and the organization of the International Youth Symposium are all achievements registered under your leadership. I would also like to congratulate my brother, Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa, President of South Africa, who has just taken chairmanship of our forum. I wish him every success. In addition, I would like to take this opportunity to welcome the Presidents of the Republic of Zimbabwe and the Republic of Seychelles, whose countries have joined the APRM. With the accession of these two countries, the APRM family now has 40 members. This is why I take this opportunity to make a solemn appeal to the remaining 17 countries to join our forum and participate in this review and exchange experiences, which is unique in the world. Finally, allow me to reiterate all my gratitude and sincere thanks to the Focus Review mission led by the Honorable Fatima Karja, to the MENA panel and Secretariat, and to the strategic partners, Their numerous contributions and support, as well as the comments of my government, has made it possible to produce the focused review report on the theme of fiscal decentralization that is before you today. Mr. President, 2 years ago, in January 2017, in this very room, I had the opportunity to present to you my country's observations and comments on the panel's first classic evaluation report. This report was written at the end of the first country assessment mission that visited Djibouti in August 2015. The progress made by our country in all areas of governance was presented to you. The report was officially launched in March 2018 and its recommendations, for the most part, have been implemented. Today, I have the honor of sharing with you the progress made in the area of fiscal decentralization before listening and responding to your comments. Fiscal decentralization, which has been identified as a challenge in the Classic Review, was, as you know, the subject of a targeted APRM review mission in January 2019. By hosting this mission, Djibouti became the first country to undergo the targeted review. This is a first on the African continent and testifies, if any need arise, to my government's interest in the issues of good governance in our country and its commitments to our organization. Mr. President, you will agree with me that decentralization is not a one-off event, but first and foremost a long process that stems from a clearly stated political will, the aim being to deepen the dynamic of good governance, democratization, and local development. This is why, before embarking on the path of fiscal decentralization, many essential prerequisites has to put in place. Indeed, from the very first hours of independence, the concept of decentralization was evoked. The constitutional law and then Ordinance Number 77.60 of 23 November 1977 provided for the creation of municipalities and grassroots communities with administrative and financial autonomy. In addition, the Constitution of September 1992, in its Articles 85, 86, and 87, is very clear on the decentralization process. Thus, as soon as I took office as head of state, I launched the first phase of the process by setting up a delegated ministry in charge of decentralization. The latter, on the basis of a strategic framework for the implementation of decentralization process, immediately set about its mission by setting up a local management bodies, provisional regional councils. In order to strengthen the institutional basis for decentralization, several laws were adopted in 22, 25, 26, and 2011 on decentralization and the Statute of the Regions, on the Special Statute of the City of Djibouti, on the transfer and distribution of powers between the state and on territorial communities. Decree number 27-000/PR/MID on the powers of prefects completed the institutional arrangements that had been put in place.
In the second part of his speech, the President of the Republic presented the observations and comments of his countries on the first classic evaluation report of the panel. Listen once again to the head of state.
Mr. President, earlier I stressed the importance of decentralization as an ongoing process, but one that must take place step by step. After all these prerequisites, we are able to hold regional and communal elections in 26 for the first time in the history of our country. This historic date marks an important and decisive stage in the process of decentralization taking root in our country. The enthusiasm and interest aroused by these elections among the population has left its mark on all minds in the sense of the participation of independent candidates, not affiliated to political parties. The non-commissional of mandates, a mandatory quota for women, and the type of electoral system chosen have greatly contributed to the entrenchment of local democracy. It should be noted that regional and communal elections are held every 5 years, for example in January 2012 and February 2017. Following the first regional and communal elections, a certain number of powers, formerly held by representatives of the states, were subsequently transferred to local authorities. This includes civil statute, roads, management of markets, school governance, management of the public domain, etc. In addition, in order to ensure access to public service for a wide range of the population, the state had gradually deconcentrated technical services such as education, health, gender promotion, ANEFIP, social affairs, and agricultural, livestock, and fishing. Mr. President, the success of all these advances had encouraged us to take another step forward, which is fiscal decentralization. To this end, and in order to give the regions, in addition to the financial resources transferred by the state, the possibility to collect fiscal and parafiscal resources we have through the 27 financial law on the initial budget, transferred to the region the real estate tax on built properties and on non-built properties and the Class 9 and 10 patent. To accompany the transfers made, the state has, in the first place, proceeded to deconcentration of its tax services through the opening of regional tax centers in the 5 regions of the interior, then provided the regional executives and with experienced offers to establish the revenues. It should be pointed out here that prior to the establishment of the said centers, a record of the taxable matter of the transferred taxes was made by the central tax services of the state as the level of each region. As a result, all the region carried out tax collection operations in 2018. We are pleased to note that the possibility offered to the regions to collect fiscal and parafiscal resources has been beneficial to them as they have seen their own resources increase due to the increase in resources from the taxable matter. These resources are, of course, destined to become increasingly important as the economic potential of the regions is developed and the range of taxes to be collected is broadened, thanks to the regional development plans that we adopted by decree in March 2017, which are part of the strategy for accelerated growth and promotion of employment 2015-2019. The first instrument for the operationalization of the Djibouti Vision 2035, these RDPs provide a framework for the development of the regions and are the instrument for building economic poles. Of course, there is no shortage of challenge to be met. I would mention in particular the cultural and administrative burdens that decentralization faces. The institutional, administrative, human, and financial capacities of local and regional authorities must also be strengthened, as most communications for better ownership and participation of all stakeholders in the decentralization process. Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, I would like to assure you that decentralization and the transfer of powers and resources to local and regional authorities remain a priority of my government's policy in order to create the condition for sustainable and harmonious development through the national territory. The recommendations of the review mission focused on decentralization, as well as those that will emerge from this forum, are welcome and will be implemented. Thank you for your attention.
Also, at the sidelines of this African Union Summit, the President of the Republic, His Excellency Ismail Omar Guelleh, chaired the Peace and Security Councils of the African Union. The issue is the worrying situations in Libya and the crisis in the Sahel. These security issues have been at the heart of the discussions to propose with one voice solutions to the crisis in Libya and the Sahel today. Crystallizes the international security, ecologically, and demographic issue, one of the most vulnerable in the world. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres, the President of the African Union Commission, Moussa Faki, the President of Egypt and Chairman of the African Union, the Commissioner for Peace and Security, Ismail Chergui, African President and diplomat, all concerned by the Libyan questions and the Sahel issue. This reflects the determinations of Africans to take the initiative in determining their destiny and meeting the challenges of peace, democracy, and security. The head of state government and government are committed to combating and putting an end to the scourges of conflicts which constitute the main obstacle to the socio-economic development of the continent. In his address, the President of the Republic, Ismail Omar Guelleh, has indicated security issues have been at the heart of the discussions. Listen to the head of state.
Excellences, Monsieur le chef d'État et de gouvernement, Excellences, Monsieur Antonio Guterres, secrétaire général des Nations Unies, Monsieur Moussa Faki Mohamed, président de la Commission, et Monsieur Ismail Chergui, commissaire à la paix et à la sécurité de l'Union africaine, Monsieur le Président de l'Assemblée générale des Nations Unies, Mesdames et Messieurs, permettez-moi à l'entendre.
Mr. Antonio Guterres, Secretary General of the United Nations, Mr. Moussa Faki Mohamed, President of the Commission, Mr. Ismail Chergui, Commissioner for Peace and Security of the African Union, Mr. President of the United Nations General Assembly, ladies and gentlemen, allow me at the outset to thank my brother, the Prime Minister of the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia, Dr. Abiy Ahmed, and his government for the warm welcome I have received since my arrival in this beautiful city of Addis Ababa. I should also like to express my warm thanks to the Commission of the African Union for the excellent organization of this Peace and Security Council Summit on Libya and the Sahel. Finally, before we begin our discussions, I would like, on your behalf and on my own, to renew our frontal feelings of solidarity and compassion because the year 2019 was a very deadly year in the Sahel and the Lake Chad regions because of the increase in attacks by terrorist groups. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, As the Republic of Djibouti assumes the presidency of the AU Peace and Security Council, I would like to underscore the imperative of this summit, which is aimed at finding a solution to two closely linked crises in our continent, namely the crisis in Libya and the crisis in the Sahel. As we are always aware, security and stability in Libya and therefore in the Sahel are integral parts of world peace, security, and stability. The fall of the Libyan state in 2011 has been the multiplying element of the flare-up of the Sahel space. Therefore, any proposal that aims to be effective must necessarily include the resolution of the Libyan crisis. I am not telling you anything new when I say that external interference in Libyan interior affairs has upset the regional chessboard, leading to destabilization of Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso and beyond, and the emergence of malicious actors that are weakening our states, sowing death on a daily basis, causing thousands of refugees and displaced persons and destroying basic social services. Since the beginning of Libyan crisis, Africa has been marginalized and frustrated in its efforts to stand in solidarity with their brothers. We have deplored this on many occasions, and today, the situation in Libya and its consequences on a whole region are indicative of the limits of multilateralism whenever Africa is not involved in solving its own problems. It is time for us to recover our prerogatives and assume our responsibilities by collectively reconsidering this situation and experimenting with another new path. That is why our meeting must propose a clear and exhaustive roadmap to meet the challenge of multidimensional instability in the Sahelo-Saharan region. 3 points deserve to be addressed without taboos. First, what is our strategy in the short, medium, and long term? What is the status of the development process? Does it take into account the specificity of the threats in the Sahelo-Saharan region? What are its objectives and priorities? In view of the correlation between the Libyan crisis and instability in the Sahel, should we not adopt a single strategy? Secondly, what are we proposing with regard to the resolution of the current political and security crisis? To quote our brother President Pierre Buyoya, there is a traffic jam in the Sahel. Everyone wants to do something or wants to be seen doing something. Consequently, it is necessary to identify and, above all, to operationalize the added value of the African Union in complementary with the existing ECOWAS and the G5 Sahel Joint Force and the Joint Multinational Force. Finally, as I said in Brazzaville, it is imperative to review our arrangements. We currently have an ad hoc committee for Libya, 2 senior representatives of the President of the Commission in the region, 2 heads of liaison officers, a mission for Mali and the Sahel, 2 liaison officers in Libya and Chad. Is this configuration optimal? Do these entities have adequate financial and human resources to fulfill their mandate and to a volatile environment? As a reminder, in September 2019, the leaders of the Economic Community of the West African states pledged at their last extraordinary summit to mobilize $1 billion over 4 years to combat jihadism in the region. In turn, proposed in Brazzaville that we mobilize the Peace Fund in order to finance African initiatives in this serious crisis. It is crucial that the Council take a decision on the issue. This summit, ladies and gentlemen, is being held a few weeks after the PAU summit, the Berlin International Conference, and the Brazzaville High-Level Meeting. We should welcome all these initiatives, particularly the Sahel Coalition, which is the outcome of the joint declaration by the head of state of the G5 Sahel and the French Republic, and which comprises 4 pillars, namely the fight against terrorism, the strengthening of military capabilities, support of the return of the state and the administration, and lastly, development assistance, with highlighting the centrality of Africa. If Africa wants to make its voice heard and act effectively to contribute to the stabilization of the Sahel and the well-being of its people, we must provide clear answers to these questions. Before concluding, I would like to thank the President of the Republic of Congo, Denis Sassou Nguesso, for his commitment and tireless efforts to promote peace in Libya through active diplomacy. Dear brothers and sisters, I wish us fruitful deliberations.
The 7 extraordinary sessions of the Council of Foreign Ministers IGAD that opened early this morning on the sidelines of the African Union Summit. This extraordinary summit focused on the peace process in southern Sudan, more specifically on the outstanding tasks during the extended 100 days of the pre-transitional period. Another issue on the agenda was the historically large-scale locust invasions in Ethiopia and Somalia. Today, this extremely voracious locust swarm is threatening food security through the Horn of Africa region and are growing exponentially. Ministers agreed to collaborate and work together with the support of international organizations to counter these locust infestations. It should be recalled that these 7 extraordinary sessions of the Council of Foreign Ministers will be followed by the 24th extraordinary summit of the IGAD head of state and government. The ambassador Ismail Wais said that this extraordinary summit, who focused on the peace process in southern Sudan, more specifically on the outstanding tasks during the extended 100 days of the pre-transitional period. The Minister of National Education and Vocational Training, Mustafa Muhammad Mahamoud, officially launched more than 70 smart classrooms in 32 schools covering all levels of primary, junior, and high school. The minister was accompanied by the General Directors of Education, Kripen, Mr. Abdi Dirir Gire, and Saeed Nur Hassan, as well as the Director of Computer Science, Abdurrahman Ahmed Abdo. In his tower, the minister and his delegation visited successively the neighborhood schools, 7 Peace, Balbala 2, and Nasiba Basic School. The minister and his entourage met with the officials and were able to visit the new smart classroom to appreciate the use of digital tools by teachers and students. The smart classroom have been put into operations with the sophisticated equipment and furniture such as smart boards, access points, mobile tables, and chairs. These rooms have been completely renovated, tiled floors with glass windows and air conditioned in each of the 32 schools concerned. The Minister of Health, Muhammad Warsama Diri, went to Ali Addi at the head of an important delegation to take the pulse of the local health system. In addition to several officials of his department, the Minister of Health was accompanied by the Minister of Interior, Mumin Ahmed Sheikh, the representative of the HCR, Mr. Yondamkul Sakor. On the arrival, the delegation was welcomed by the prefect of the region, Mr. Musa Adan Migane, and the president of the regional council, Umar Ahmed Wais, as well as juvenile populations. The ministerial delegation therefore made an inspection visit to the various services of the health post of Ali Adde, which offers a wide range of primary health care to the inhabitants of these towns, which hosts a large refugee community. The day was also marked by the inauguration of a new community pharmacy, which has been completely renovated with a large capacity for storing medicines to meet the demand. And at the end of his visit to Ali Adde, the Minister of Health, Muhammad Warsama Diri, and the Minister of Interior, Mumin Ahmed Sheikh, discussed with the wise men and elders to inquire about their expectations and listen to their grievance about the quality of care offered to Ali Adde. Also, in the wake of this visit to Asajok region, the Minister of Health went last Thursday to the borders post for the inaugurations of the new quarantine stations of Galilee in Addis Ababa regions, accompanied by a strong delegation, which included the Minister of Interior, Mumin Ahmed Sheikh, the representative of UNHCR, Yondamkul Sakor, the prefect of the region, Musa Adan Migane, the president of the regional council, Umar Ahmed Wais, and the director general of Ali Sabih Regional Hospital, Mr. Mohammed Sugay Ainan. These inaugurations of the quarantine antenna allowed this ministerial delegation to take full measures of operational status on the devices against the coronavirus epidemic in the borders area of Galilee, with guided towers of quarantine antenna with explanations from the technical directors of UNSPD. Speaking of entrepreneurship and employment opportunities, the delegation is composed of the Minister of Social Affairs, Solidarity, and the Secretary of State for Decentralization. Visit one of the farms in the region, not least at all, Mr. Jama Agedi's agro-pastoral farms in Harru. Is a true model of success in agro-pastoralism. Mr. Jama Agedi allowed the delegation to observe the methods used in organic agriculture in arid environments, illustrating the efficient and harmonious integrations of crop production, but also biological control using combinations of plants such as jujube and apple tree, legumes and compote. On the way back, the delegations visit the Iliko leather and footwear factory in the locality of Mulud. Indeed, the delegation was able to visit the workshop of the installations and machines allowing the productions of different types of products for sale, an example of entrepreneurship made in Djibouti. In her speech, the Minister for Social Affairs, Muna Osman Adnan, recalled that entrepreneurship was very important and that many young people can benefit from it for the development of our countries in several areas. It is also very effective. First of all, it's necessary to have and to master self-confidence, then to launch oneself to have ideas to creations of enterprises generates the creations of jobs. The state has made several provisions for young people. All that remains is to steal from the in Haru, which is real models of crisis. For the international organization is for migration regional directors for the east of and Horn of Africa, Mohamed Abdi Khair, on working visit to Djibouti, and his delegations went to the Obok prefectures where they met the prefect Abdul Malik Mohamed Banoita, the international organization migration regional director for east of Horn of Africa, thanked the regional officers and for his support to international organizations for migration, in particular for his support in the management of the irregular migrants using Obok as a transit point to reach the Arab Gulf countries.
That is causing problems in Obok and other parts of the country, and how we can support the migrants themselves but also support the local community. We're looking at supporting the migrants here in Obok, but also supporting the local youth, because they also need employment and jobs and stabilization to be able to support them as well. But this has also impacted the capacity of Obok city to respond to the crisis itself. The health situation, more migrants are using the health system. The security situation has also not improved because of the number of migrants who are fighting each other as well. So we're trying to see that how we can build the capacity of the prefecture, of the gendarmerie, of the health system, so we can have both support to the migrants themselves but also to the local community.
In the context of the contacting towers of the rural community, the prefect of Tajura, Mr. Hassan Dabali, accompanied by the president of the regional council, Umar Hussein, went in the mornings of Friday to the mountain of Mabla, where they were first welcomed by the young deputy Hade Debarkale and Yusuf Mutuna. The community of Mabla gave to the prefect, Mr. Hassan Dabale, a warm welcome. Afterward, the prefect of the region spoke with the elders and the customary awaiting contact. Let us advantages to this day meetings under the signs of contact and rural community. For her part, parliamentarian Ahadi Deberkale Ahmed she said was proud to be in the region of Mabla today with the prefect of the region and the president of the regional council to attend the first contact with the rural community urged to open up these regions of Mabla. She had already initiated in the regions a community actions in exchanges of work for food to improve the state of the trade and the young. She was ready to commit herself to improve the living conditions of the population. For his part, the prefect of the region of Tajura, Hassan Dabali Ahmed, was delighted by this contact, which will allow us to better discover the area and deepen our knowledge of the rural population of the different regions, and congratulate the young parliamentary Hadi for her unfailing commitment to actions undertaken to open up her regions. At the initiative of the executive of the city of Dekhel, the peace caravan is co-organized with the representative of the civil society of Dekhel, in this case Abakari Musa Muhammad, led by Mr. Orbis Hela, on this days of Tuesday, 4 February, a day of peace, citizenship and unity was organized in the conference rooms of the Regional Council. The objective of the caravan was to fight against insults and malicious intentions circulating on social network. The peace caravan set out to mobilize young people around peace and the social coexistence, which completed add value to national actions. Under the aegis of the Secretary of State for Youth and Sports, the after capacity buildings responsible executive place to the training members of the Community Council in the framework of revitalization of the CDC wanted by the Secretary of State. The Community Development Center of Neighborhood 4 hosted the launch of this training for the leading members of the district responsible for the management of their structure designed to promote the integration and development of youth under the guidance of the two technical advisors experts in the file, Mohammed Farah Ibrahim, Abdi Sow Osman. This training, which will also extend throughout the national territory, is part of a policy socio-economic and socio-professional territory integrations for youth. The Djiboutian Associations of the Former Sportsmen and Women ADAS organized a first welcome for in the Siesta Beach to the International Autonomous Sport of Djibouti. This is part of fight against juvenile delinquency, as the association invites all senior citizens to practice these sports, which will take place every Friday, which are beneficially against venous disease, and this is due to old age. The ADAS Association is an association of sportsmen, women who have been formed to allow citizens, thanks to their experience. We regret to announce the death of the late Momina Roble Jama'a. Momina Jama Roble, who died on Wednesday, February 5, 2020, at the Pelt Hospital due to the illness. Born in 1961 in Arta, the late Momina Jama Roble was a dynamic woman, was the first woman dean who worked since in 1982, previously in the administration post of Arta and Wea. The prefect of the Artas region, Mohammed Sheikh Hassan, sent his most sincere condolences to the relatives and all family of Momina Jama Roble, the entire staff of the Artas prefecture, the president of the regional council, the local and parliamentary elected officials of Artas region, the president of Annex of RPP, the Minister of Energy, Yunus Ali Geddi, the former Minister of Defense, Hassan Darar Hufane, joined in the grief of the family, the late Momina Jama Roble, and offered their deepest condolences. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. For the international scene, more than 19 migrants were intercepted in the single days on Thursday by British authorities. Listen to the report.
Were intercepted in a single day on Thursday by British authorities as they tried to cross the channel. Rescued at sea, they were taken to Dover, still dangerous. The number of crossings has been increasing throughout the winter. The rescuers regularly avoid major tragedies, but for how much longer? Andy Roberts, former English Coast Guard, said these boats don't sail with a captain or skipper. They're just pushed off the bank and drift off, and it works. And there's so much money involved if you imagine about 3,000 to 4,000 pounds per person for a crossing. 2 or 3 deaths have been reported, but one day there's going to be a real catastrophe.
This is it for the news. Thanks for watching us.